All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704, once again for episode 273 of the A15 Exchange. And well, this is a stacked, loaded episode. I'm also recording this on a Monday. It's like it was back in the day. All right, it feels good. All right, it feels so good. So we got a full slate of things. All right, we got UFC 321. That's going to kick us off. We've got college football. We've got a stacked week, an absolutely stacked week in entertainment with album drops, Gen V finale, Chainsaw Man. We've got the NFL week to talk about. We've got the World Series going on, the Roundup. We've got NASCAR and F1 coming to their near ends of the season. And of course, the NBA is back up. Wemby's going crazy. The rookies are going crazy, but the young stars are also going crazy in the NHL. We also have El Clásico. All right, we got everything. All right, we got everything in today's episode. We're repping the brand today. But as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. And as always, all right, everything you're looking for in this life can be found in my description. Timestamps embedded in the video, also in the description. All right, social media links in the outro also in the description. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we got plenty to get to today. All right, we got plenty to get to, so let's do it. All right, starting off with the UFC, starting off with the fight game. UFC 321, it was in Dubai, and it was headlined, of course, by what was hotly anticipated. All right, Tom Aspinall, finally undisputed heavyweight champion. He was finally going to get to defend it against Cyril Gane. We were very excited about this, and of course, honestly, it was a little bit fitting. With everything that's happened in the heavyweight division and John holding it hostage, Dana enabling him, it all worked out that this super highly anticipated, finally the heavyweight division couldn't be back. And it ends because Cyril cannot stop eye-poking Tom and he can't see, so it becomes a no contest in the first round. It was the most anticlimactic, but almost fitting way for everything that's happened, like I said, in this division, for it to round up. It was so fitting, unfortunately. So fitting. Of course, they got to run this one back. All right? This is pretty simple. Got to run this one back. It looked like it was going to be a very competitive fight. I think Cyril was up on significant strikes at the time of the two eye pokes. But yeah, it's just felt like karma for Dana holding this division hostage, for the whole glove situation and not making those easier for the fighters to not, to grip and not, always have like a finger out. So yeah, just a perfect accumulation of all of the BS that's happened with the UFC. And here it was. So yeah, sure they're going to run this back very, very soon. But yeah, super unfortunate. Tom's getting a lot of flack for it for absolutely no reason. He got double eye poked. And Cyril's literal knuckles were in his eyes. I don't know what to tell you, bro. I don't know what to tell you. However, all right, the strawweight matchup was a lot better. Okay, a lot better, which, I mean, not super bar, not a super high bar here to jump over. But yes, Mackenzie Dern, long awaited. I think this was kind of long anticipated, especially when she came back from becoming a mother. And ladies and gentlemen, she is the with a unanimous decision, she is the undisputed strawweight champion of the world, taking out Virna. And yeah, it was an impressive performance. All right, and a very, very impressive performance. Did what had to be done on the ground. Was great as always in those grappling exchanges. But I was very impressed with her striking as well. So yeah, very complete performance from Dern. I feel like she's been kind of tactless. Felt like she was on her way to winning that strawweight title for a very long time at this point. She gets it done. All right, she gets it done. Shout out to Mackenzie. Moving on. Umar. Was supposed to be the next one. Still may be the next one of the Nurmagomedov clan. But he took that first L to Merab. All right, in his first attempt at claiming the bantamweight title, he had to go to what essentially was a number one contenders matchup here versus Mario Batista, who was on an incredible fight win streak going into this fight. And while Umar just outclassed him. All right, he did. I'm not going to lie. It got sticky. I think it was in that second round when he dropped Umar. It got sticky for a second. I was like, oh boy. And I think Batista really should have pressed the issue and got him up out of there. I really would have liked to see him be more aggressive after he rocked Umar and dropped him. Because, you got to take advantage of those opportunities when you're facing somebody like Nurmagomedov, who the longer the fight goes on, unless he's going against somebody like Merab, he's probably going to outclass you. And that's what happened. All right, he just simply outclassed Batista. He had nothing for Umar, and Umar gets the UD here and is able to come back from getting dropped And that sets up, of course, the rematch versus Marab for the bantamweight title, which should be good. It's going to be interesting to see how much Umar has matured as he goes into that fight and how much he's advanced, because Marab, we said it last time we talked about him fight, which was not that long ago, he looks unstoppable. All right, he looks unstoppable. He handled Sandhagen even after Corey took, I think that was took the first round, and then Marab just went off. So we'll see. All right, we will see. But yeah, Umar gets his number one, or at least stamps his number one contendership in that loaded division. And we will see what happens. All right, other things that happened here on UFC 321. Volkov and Jalton had a hilarious finish. Jalton Almeida, classic Mr. Take You Down and didn't do absolutely nothing, just kind of like, just smother you in a way, just like hugged you to the ground, and I'm going to win fights that way. And it was absolutely hilarious and so gratifying, because I hate when they're rewarded for doing that. Like, if you're going to bring somebody to the ground, go for a sub, right? You can maul them, but go for a sub. Maul them, hit some strikes. John doesn't do any of that. So they didn't reward him for any of that, and he ends up losing a split decision here to Volkov, which was hilarious. All right, which was absolutely hilarious. Made my day to see Jalton lose like that. So, yeah, you better do something with that when you take him to the ground. Reze Arc with an absolutely beautiful, power jab. I don't know. He dropped Rakic on a jab. All right, that's how much power he's got in his hands. He stays undefeated with the KO there. Alexander Rakic, Mr. Potential Man, has not won a fight since 2021. We need to have some uncomfortable conversations about him in this division and whether he's going to be employed at the UFC much longer. But then again, light heavyweight's not that loaded. Walter Walker now has not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 straight, I believe, heel hook finish wins. Heavyweight might be his for the taking. He just brings something different to that division that nobody else has, and I don't know if anybody else can defend. So, yeah, if he goes for the record, I think, which would be if he does it again next fight, and I think he called out, I forget who he called out, but it's like a pure striker, so it may happen. All right, it may happen, but yeah, Walker, another heel hook win. He looks very dangerous. All right, one of the most intriguing prospects, if not the most, that we currently have at heavyweight. But ladies and gentlemen, that was UFC. Let's talk about college football. Let's talk about it. Starting from the top. All right, we're going to go down the rankings here since we're doing this on a Monday. Texas A&M takes care of LSU, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, boy. Yeah, no. It's over. It's LSU. It was over last week, but now it's really over. And now you got to pay $52 million, or is it 54? Anyways, $50+ million. I think it's the largest since Jimbo buyout of a head coach, because they fired Brian Kelly after this. Because Texas A&M gets it done here 49-25. The Marcel Reed show continues. All right, 310 yards, 210 yards passing, 108 on the ground. He also had 2 touchdowns passing, 2 touchdowns rushing for a total of 4. It was a Heisman launching game for Marcel Reed. I don't know why. He looks like one of them guys. He does. Reed, only a sophomore, and with how bad the quarterback class appears to be outside of Fernando Mendoza, Reed is a very intriguing prospect, especially with his running abilities. He's continuing to develop as a passer, as we saw in this game, though he still had, I believe, 2 interceptions. So it wasn't completely unblemished, but LSU does have a talented secondary, to be fair. But yeah, Marcel played a tremendous game. Casey Concepcion, the NC State transfer, had a receiving touchdown, but also had an absolutely back-breaking punt return touchdown. That really felt like the end of BK's tenure, especially when you saw him yelling at the special teams analyst, talking about this might cost you your job. No, BK, it's going to cost you your job. Cassius Howell continues to be an absolute menace that he's been all year. Of course, you've got that viral clip of him talking crazy to the LSU offensive line. Well, ladies and gentlemen, he also backed it up. He had 2 sacks. They had 7 total of Nuss, who also got knocked out of this game momentarily. We saw MVP, in this game. So, yeah. Nothing going right for LSU. With BK gone, I'm very interested to see how this changes this team. I don't think LSU is necessarily getting vulture-proof. I do think we could see an exodus of talent, but I don't know how much these players really liked Brian Kelly, so to speak, with just how BK is. So you could see some guys stay. And it's just like, who do we get and see what happens there. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting situation for LSU. A lot of jobs are opening up. Going to be very competitive. I know a lot of people, once again, are also talking about Lane Kiffin. Though I don't know if Lane's leaving because we're going to talk about what happened there with Ole Miss and Oklahoma. But before we get to that, we're staying in the SEC and we're going to talk about Bama, who, the wide receivers tried to lose this game. All right, they tried. They tried their hardest. Outside of Jeremy Bernard, who was very well and clearly at this point the best receiver on this team. He had 5 receptions, 54 yards, and a touchdown. Bama tried. All right, they tried. Ryan Williams is just not that guy. Everybody struggled. Everybody struggled. Ty still had 253 and 2 touchdowns, but it was not his best game by any means. And South Carolina had ample opportunity to win this game. And honestly, it looked like they were going to pull off the upset. This was going to be that one trademark win for Shane Beamer that could save his job and give South Carolina that glimpse of hope going in to the rest of the season and maybe even next year. And then Lenore Sellers fumbled it away, and Bama gets the ball back and doesn't. No. They don't go for the field goal. They score a touchdown to just rub it in just a little bit more. After the South Carolina fans, might I add, had come down to prepare to storm the field. They was under 2 minutes to go in the game. They got the ball. All you got to do is run into field goal position, which they were about to do, and the game is over. And Sellers fumbles the ball. Fumbles it. It's just backbreaking. Backbreaking. What's been a season of misery and disappointment for South Carolina, this has to be the one that potentially hurts the most. Could have knocked off Bama, could have added that second loss, that big strike to the Crimson Tide, had a chance to break the run they're on, and you fumbled it away. You absolutely fumbled it away. So, yeah. Complete disaster for the Gamecocks. I think this is one that really, really hurts. Really, really, really hurts. And sets them back even further. I don't think Beamer's long for this world. Not literally, of course. But yeah, I think it's OV. All right, I think it's really OV for Scar. Bama survives, but then again, that's the kind of nature of college football right now. All right, live to fight another day, and Alabama does. Ole Miss takes care of Oklahoma here, 34-26. And one of the headlining matchups of the week, once again staying here in the SEC, that is absolutely loaded. I'm not going to lie to you. Chambers has 315 and a touchdown. I feel like that's a classic Chambers. He somehow gets the 315 total. Has like one touchdown, though, very weirdly. But yeah, Trinidad Chambers continues to be that guy. Mr. Lacey, it was so clutch. 2 touchdowns in the game for him. Prince Umanamelon. Princewell Umanamelon. Want to make sure I get that right. 1.5 sacks for him in this game. Xavier Robertson had 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. We also had 109 yards. Yeah, 2 touchdowns, by the way, on 9 carries for Oklahoma. 109 yards, 2 touchdowns on 9 carries for OU, but it wasn't enough. IS3 going for 6, 131 and a touchdown, but it was not enough because John Mateer is just not that guy. Okay, he's just not that guy. We saw a clear quality in quarterbacks here. You got Chambers, who's a star at least. And then you got Mateer, who people tried to claim, like we said, and I said on the show already, so I'm not going to really laminate on it, but they tried to claim he was something he wasn't. And now we see what he is, and it looks stupid, looking back at what people thought John Mateer was going to be. All right? So, yeah, Mateer, just not that guy. He's not. So, OU, your little playoff hopes are over. It's time to prepare for that bowl game or for something else. It could get worse. All right, it could get a lot worse for you this season because the season's not done yet. But Ole Miss stays a contender. All right, stays a contender. We will see what happens, but they stay a contender. The Lane train keeps going, even though he's literally being associated with every single job opening that feels like is opening up. But I don't know if he's leaving. All right, I don't know if he's leaving. Then he takes care of Mizzou in what was the College Game Day game of the week. 17-10. All right, Diego Pavia. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Pavia did not play his best game. All right. Did not play his best game. It wasn't even like a trademark Heisman game, but he is clutch. All right, the man has ice in his veins, had a run to close the show here, and got the go-ahead to win this game. So, yeah, it was really a defensive battle. All right, so shout out to both of these defenses, Mizzou and Vandy, for doing a great job here. Bo Perbola gets knocked out of this game. Matt Zollers, the true freshman, did a very solid job, though, in his replacement. But like I said, these two defenses went at it. And held it down, and then Vandy was just clutcher. All right, they got Diego. He's got that gene. He's just got that gene. Vandy gets another big-time win here in the SEC and stay in playoff contention. UVA have to be the worst 7-1 team of all time. Like, it is remarkable how they keep finding ways to win. But again, like I said with Bama, it's survive and advance out here. It really is survive and advance out here in Virginia. At the bare minimums, proven to be survivalist. All right? Because I do not know how they keep pulling these out of their ass. They played Carolina this week in Bill Belichick. They go to OT after getting I think it was an interception on Gio Lopez here to close it and get the ball back before Carolina can drive. Then they score. Carolina scores. Carolina goes for the 2-point. They're able to get the stop, and they survive Chapel Hill and get the win here. It just, oh my goodness. They continue to find the craziest ways to win games. All right, but they've got one loss. They're 7-1 at the end of the day. It's absolutely bananas, but yeah, Virginia somehow surviving out here. All right, they're somehow surviving out here. Memphis and USF. I was very prepared to talk about Byron Brown and brag on him. The man had 390 yards and 3 touchdowns. However, that defense just had a different, like, it was like, nah. Y'all got it. Y'all got it. Biggest of bros, Memphis. We all got it. All right, y'all got it. All right. So despite Byron Brown literally looking like prime Cam Newton on some of the plays he made in this game, and I'm so serious, go watch that one like 44-yarder where he like stumbled and jumped over a man and it was ridiculous. All right, that was the NFL tape. The defense just was like, nah, we good. 14-point comeback in the fourth quarter gets it done. Brendan Lewis with a big 307 and 2 touchdowns. Branham Jr. had a big game as well. That was all she wrote. All right, Memphis gets it done here, 34-31. Coming through in the fourth quarter, keeps themselves alive for that, non-power 4. I guess it's the power 4 now. Non-power 4 playoff spots. They keep themselves alive for it and in the American. But yeah, USF, so much disappointment after Byron played such a great game. Texas. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, Mississippi State, another team with an absolute heartbreaker this week. 34 points in the fourth quarter is crazy. I'm not going to lie. I was also prepared. Like I was prepared to brag about Byram in the USF game. I was prepared to once again another week of us being like, yo, Arch Manning don't got it. And then they had 34 points in the fourth quarter. Came back as well alongside that 34 points to send it into OT. Arch gets knocked out of the game. Matthew Caldwell throws a beautiful ball, by the way, to win the game, and Texas gets it done 45-38. Absolute bananas. And honestly, Arch played well. I would go as far as saying Arch played well. He had 346 and 4 touchdowns in this game. Now, was he perfect? No. He still had some of the underthrows, the bad decisions, the interception. He also, he had those moments. But he also had those moments where it's like, okay, there's the talent. It might just be a quarterback of him not having that much experience starting games, and he's just got to develop. It might be one of those. He may just be lower on the development curve than we think or we thought. He may eventually... I don't know if he's going to live up to the hype of, Manning franchise quarterback, but I still think maybe that Arch could be a good player. We will see, but he played a very solid game. Honestly, Ryan Wingo needs to learn how to catch. He still had 5 receptions, 184, so I'd be amiss if I didn't mention him. Anthony Hill Jr. is an absolute menace, first-round pick, 10 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3.5 TFLs. He was everywhere. Though Blake Shapen still had 381 and 4 touchdowns, played a great game, but... hook 'em horns, all right? Found a way to win, all right? Staying alive. Like I said, that's the theme here this week in college football is staying alive. And as we wrap up the rest of this segment, all right? Illinois didn't stay alive. 42-25, they lose to Illinois here. Allmeyer doesn't play well. Damon Williams does, all right? And so does Boston. Washington goes crazy. All right, crazy on the Illini. Houston takes care of ASU 24-16. Arizona State continues to be the most bipolar team in college football. All right, well, sometimes they look like a top 25 team. Other times they look like, are they even top 50? So, yeah, they just continue to seesaw back and forth between that. Connor Weigman, remember him? Great week for Texas A&M. All right, great week for them. Yeah, he had 312 and 3 touchdowns in this game. So yeah, he was the big catalyst here for Houston. I went to go see North Texas play Charlotte because they were here. And honestly, we looked like we were going to potentially win this game in the first and second quarters, but then the second half happened, and suddenly, by the time I got home, Drew Mertesacker had over 600 yards passing. He will not be at North Texas next year. Let's just put it like that. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was the week in college football. Thoroughly enjoyed that one. I thoroughly enjoyed that one, but like I said, survive and advance. Let's talk about entertainment, though. Let's talk about ENT. Chainsaw Man, the Reze Arc. Honestly, it was so good. That was one of the best movies I've watched this year. I can firmly stamp and say that. That was an unbelievable film. A true piece of art. For full glaze. True piece of art. It was that good. I haven't read the manga, so I was going in pretty much blind. Like, I know certain things I've spoiled myself on, but I still felt like I was going in pretty fresh in terms of like knowing. I knew who Reze was. I didn't know which devil she was, but I kind of knew how her story with Denji went. But it was beautiful. All right, it was absolutely beautiful. Beautiful. Honestly, I thought she was going to turn a little bit later and they were going to go a little bit deeper with that, but it was nice. All right, it was nice to see Denji happy. And it was nice to see Denji even change her. But unfortunately, Makima is not going to let anybody with her toy. So, yeah, she marked her at the end. But and which was almost sad. It was kind of crazy to see her actually come back. And I wonder if she came back because she really had feelings for Denji, or if it was just like she finally saw a chance that like she could actually be free and she was chasing that freedom. But it was a beautiful contrast to see them both being two pawns of these super powerful people. Denji obviously is a pawn of Makima, and of course, Reze was the pawn for the Gun Devil. So we will see what happens. All right, we will see what happens in season 2. I cannot wait. Aki and Angel was also like a cool little side plot that we had and seeing that relationship develop. I did not know that Angel was a guy into this film. I'm not gonna lie to you. Different art style as well, but Map was still cooked. But yeah, honestly, one of the best movies of the year. If you haven't seen it, go see it. I didn't even spoil that much. So, yeah, go see it. All right, go see it. One of the best of the year. The Gen V finale, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, was not one of the best of the year. It's not as bad as people were saying. All right, it's kind of funny. Peacemaker and Gen V cooked throughout the season, and then the finales were like, they're okay. They're okay. It was an okay finale. All right, I thought Godolkin was going to be a little bit bigger of a threat than Marie just popping him. But that's what happened. That is literally what happened. No big turns. Greg was actually a good guy. I don't know if he's coming back or, once again, like I said, if that was just to be like, hey, we have Stephen Caleb. Look how pretty he is. He's going to be an off-campus. Like, I don't know if that's what that was, but of course, they link up. A-Train and Annie show up at the end to help, pivot into the boys season. We'll see how much the Gen V kids take an impact there. I'm sure Marie will play a big impact against Homelander, as that's what they've been hyping up. But yeah, we'll also see what Sage does because she has her own scheme going. I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be surprised if she's like the ultimate big bad, even over Homelander. Like, it almost feels like that's where the story is going. But we'll see. All right, I'll let them cook. I'll let Crib Cake cook. But overall, great season. Finale was just a little lukewarm, though. I will admit. It was a little lukewarm. What was not lukewarm was Leon Thomas. All right? And he has not been lukewarm at all in his career, like ever. In his entire life, Leon Thomas potentially has never missed. Okay? He dropped a album, PHOLKS, this week. Not super long. I don't have a standout song in my notes. It just says PHOLKS Leon. Because every single song is that good. It's that good. If I was giving album ratings, I haven't listened to it twice. So I'm neglecting giving an album rating to any of the 3 that I listened to this week. But PHOLKS would be very close to that 10. It would be in the 9s, the high 9s, very, very likely. It is one of the best projects I've heard all year. He is that guy. Make no mistake about it. We got 2 of them that I'm bringing inside this week. He is that guy. Make no mistake about it. All right, Leon Thomas, you did it again. Ian's is not the other album I would rank that high, but it was still a very strong album. I put it in the 8s. 2005. Again, he continues to develop as an artist. I was surprised. There was none of that bad. I don't know if that was like a little like promo thing he did with Bad Baby, but I don't recall hearing Danielle in my speakers when I listened to this album on Friday. So I ain't mad at it. But Ian, for the most part, honestly did his thing. Honestly, the intro was the weakest song on the project. I Ain't Coming Back still hits. And Remember Me were also very solid. I think my favorite song will probably evolve as I listen to this project more. But Ian continues to get better. There's something here. All right, there's something here. He's not just a hype train. Something there. However, Sometime Dave dropped. Okay? And if it wasn't for Leon, this week would be all about David. Alright, I waited for this. I waited for this project. The boy who played the harp lived up to the hype, similar to Willie Leon. All I have on my notes is the boy who played the harp. Because the album was that good. It lived up to the hype. It would be in the mid-9s. Alright? I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. It would be in the mid-9s. He is slowly putting together one of the great discographies, in my opinion, in not British hip-hop history, in hip-hop history. And he's 27. Put some respect on Santan's name. It's that good. There were no misses. No misses. Now, there wasn't a lot of like the big, bombastic, loud, super, more hard-hitting tracks that David can do. But the introspectives, it was a good balance between the introspective stuff and still stuff that you could rock out to. You know what I mean? And again, not super long. Not super long. That was kind of the theme here. Very concise, well thought out projects between him and Leon. And both were very elite. All right, super duper elite. Shout out to Santan, one of my favorite artists in the world. Tyla dropped Chanel, which of course was getting a lot of discussion because there was almost like the potential Drake feature. And then Young Miami said that Tyla stole the song. And I'm going to be honest. Young Miami is just going to have to let Tyla keep this one because it was good. All right, unfortunately it was good and probably better than whatever Miami could do. And I'm certainly better than that snippet. So, sorry. All right, sorry. Maybe she did. It didn't really sound that similar, to be honest with you, in my opinion. But nonetheless, Chanel, Tyla, she's gonna be here. All right, she's gonna be here. She's not going away. All right, I think we pretty much firmly cast her being like a one-hit wonder. But just to stand, but Tyla is going to be one of the stars of my generation at least. So she ain't going nowhere. All right, Tyla is not going anywhere. Now for the MLB. All right, World Series going on. And listen, Toronto, the Six had everybody. They had Drizzy, they had Agent, they had everybody. At game 1, went off, had a whole party. But game 2, unfortunately, Yoshinobu Yamamoto was on the bump. And when that happens, it gets real wicked for opponents. All right, it gets real wicked. Yamamoto, I don't think we hype him enough. I don't think we hype Yamamoto enough for what he is. I'm not saying, listen, Roki's a much more exciting prospect and Roki is doing his thing right now. And I've been on the Roki train for a while, even back when he was on the Mariners still in Japan. But Yamamoto won MVP in Japan. He won multiple Cy Youngs in Japan. He won the Eli multiple times in Japan. He was the best pitcher in Japanese baseball for a good 3 to 4 year period. And maybe even just the best player outright. And I think we just kind of skimmed by that because it was Ohtani's doing what he's doing now and Roki's the next one. I think we forgot about the superstar that lives in between. And that's Yamamoto. He is one of the best, if you don't realize it now, he is one of the best pitchers, players, whatever you want to call it, on earth. He is a bona fide superstar, a bona fide ace. An ace of aces, I dare say. There are not 5 pitchers I'd take in the world over Yamamoto. He is that guy. And we got to give him his flowers, all right? This is back-to-back. First since Kurt Schilling, by the way. First pitcher to go back-to-back complete games in the MLB playoffs. Does it here in Game 2 of the World Series to get the Dodgers back level at 1-1. He has 8 Ks, only gave up 4 hits. And like I said, back-to-back complete games. He is a monster. All right, I know that's Roki's. He's a monster of the Reiwa era. But Yamamoto's a monster as well. All right, he is so good. 5 pitches, he can all throw them. It's just he's that guy. He is that guy, man. He is that guy. Gotta give him his flowers at this point for being one of the best in the world. Will Smith also had a really, really good game here, 3 RBIs. And the Dodgers are back in business. All right. I said last week, and I think that was the clip I posted to TikTok, talking about Ohtani's greatest game of all time. But I was interested to see how the Dodgers were just going to win the World Series. I will give the Blue Jays a little bit more respect. They have a chance. All right. Game 1 showed me they got something. But it's still an uphill battle. All right, LA is LA for a reason. We will see. All right, we will see. But Yamamoto, you are him. Let us talk about here in the main event of the evening, the National Football League. All right, let's talk about the NFL, the NFL, the NFL. After Jay Herbo embarrassed himself last week, he got it back. Got it back in Bud versus Minnesota. He had 227, 3 touchdowns. The Chargers won 37-10. Carson Wentz was falling apart. It was a little bit of a hard watch, honestly, because the man was clearly injured. His shoulder is literally hanging off, it looked like. It's bandaged up, and he's still getting thrown out there, getting beat up, trying to deliver. It was brutal. All right, he was literally on 1 HP the entire game, just about, it felt like. All right, Wentz was literally falling apart. But the Chargers, it was bliss. All right, it was bliss. It was a great game. It was a very cathartic game, I'd imagine, for Chargers fans. Like I said, Herbo with the hat trick. Vidal goes 117 in a touchdown, looking like he can more than step up in that running back 1 position. And they get it done. Denver and Dallas. I'm not going to laminate on this because let's be real. We knew how this was going. All right, Denver beats the brakes off of Dallas, keeps the winning streak going. Bo Nix looks like Joe Montana, 247 and 4 touchdowns. I was right, like I said last week. Dak plays a horrible game. I'm not going to sit here, like I said, laminate on this. We knew what was going to happen. I am going to laminate on the New York Jets have finally won a game. Ladies and gentlemen, we have no more teams with no wins. All right, no more winless teams in the NFL this season. All right, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Unless you're a Bengals fan, which is kind of embarrassing. But the Jets get it done here after the go-ahead touchdown late to Mason Taylor. 39-38. Of course, this is a very emotional game because, first off, rest in peace to Nick Mangold. Almost got me a little emotional seeing that, especially after 2 weeks ago. It was like, okay, he's, putting it out there that he needs a kidney donor. Surely it's not that bad, but you hear all those horror stories about how long that wait list is and people dying and how many people die a day on that wait list. And I don't know. I just didn't think that would be Nick. And, yeah, it's hard. Even though I'm not a Jets fan, I didn't have a Mangold jersey, but it's difficult to see those notable athletes that I grew up on in my childhood pass. It's hard because it feels like a little bit of you. I don't want to say losing my innocence, but like it really kind of grounds you. It really, really does ground you. Mangold will get his gold jacket very, very soon. I know he's already got his green jacket from the Jets. I still very wish that he'd have been there for it, though. I still very wish. So I will say, and to anybody dealing with kind of kidney disease or any family members, prayers and condolences to you. It's a horrible situation, and it's one of the things, amongst the many things that we have in this world and society we need to fix. We definitely need to find a way for that wait list to not be as much of a horror, that it is. It needs to be more accessible, or it needs to be expedited. Like, I don't know if I have the answer right now or can formulate it, but that does need to be answered. So I did want to get that off, all right, before we really go into the game. Rest in peace to Nick Mangold. But Mason Taylor with the go-ahead here with 1 minute and 54 seconds helps push the Jets to their first win of the season. Breece Hall, all right, did his thing. 133 and 2 touchdowns. Justin Fields was back at the helm as Tyrod could not go, and it was the right choice. I don't know why. Like I said last week, why they went to Tyrod. I get Justin wasn't playing well. I get that he got banged up. Tyrod's not the future of this team, potentially. Fields is. You got to live and fight with him. You got to let him overcome. Same way the Panthers are letting Bryce go through it. Sometimes you got to go through that trial of fire and see what you got at the end. All right, you'll find more about yourself and what you got when you do that. All right, so if he's got to go through some misery to fight through and see what we got at the end, especially when it's not like he's drowning in the fire. Fields has had some times where he's flourished this year. He hasn't been the issue, to be honest with you, for the most part of why the Jets were winless. So, again, I didn't understand that decision, but yeah, he's back. However, Breece definitely led the way offensively. Joe Flacco continues to be a great pickup for Cincy. 223 and 3 touchdowns. I picked him up in fantasy this week. He saved me. So, yeah, shout out to Flacco. Still balling out, but that Cincy defense sucks, and honestly, that Cincy team sucks. Besides, obviously their offensive passing game and the run game is not too bad either. But the Jets no longer win this. All right, no longer win this. Baltimore beats Chicago. Snoop Huntley has 239 and a touchdown in the final week that Lamar will be out. Chicago, Caleb struggled. All right, simply put, Caleb struggled. The Ravens defense finally put together a really good game, and they would get it done. All right, I won't eliminate too much on that one. Neither will I on this one. Miami takes out Atlanta 34-10. This was embarrassing. Kirk Cousins is washed. Whoa. I didn't expect him to be that washed. That was bad. That was bad. And then Tua, with one eye, plays his best game of the season, has 4 touchdowns here. I don't know what happened last week for Miami, but I don't know. Some threats were made, but they figured something out. Could just be the Falcons, though. Could just be the Falcons. Buffalo literally took over Charlotte. I went out Saturday night and saw a bunch of Bills fans. There was a Bills tailgate party going on the night before the game with a bunch of Bills fans in Charlotte. I mean, they took it over. Shout out to Bills fans. Y'all really, Mafia really lives and dies about it. All right? So I got to respect that. I do got to respect that. They also took over Charlotte in terms of the game. All right, they beat the bricks off the Panthers 40-9. James Cook, St. James, 216 and 2 touchdowns. I know Josh is the reigning MVP on that team, but maybe Jay Cook. Maybe just a little bit. We're going to talk about the running backs and MVP candidacy this year. I'm just saying, look at what James Cook's doing. All right, I'm just saying, 216 and a touchdown, in this game. Panthers, nothing went well in this game. Defensively, of course, you got gashed. Offensively, Bryce didn't play. And Andy Dalton don't got it. So, bad game for Carolina, great game for Buffalo. Y'all took over the city for real. Houston, all right, takes care of San Fran 26-15. CJ Stroud, better game this week, 318, 2 touchdowns. Did with 1 interception, but I won't slander Stroud this week. Houston gets a good win. All right, really good win here versus the 49ers. The Eagles are officially back on track. All right, I will say it. They're officially back on track. A little bit of a revenge game here. Though it feels a little bittersweet, depending on how Saquon's doing. He did have 150 and a touchdown. Of course, that 65-yarder on the second play of the game will also help that total. But Jalen Hurts stayed hot. 179 and 4 touchdowns. But like I said, Saquon got injured in this game at the end with the hamstring. We'll see what happens there. That could be a big blow. However, no blow was bigger this week than what happened to the New York Giants, who are cursed this year. That's the only way to put it. Scat dislocates his ankle in a very brutal fashion, and I'm hoping for the best. Even as a Cowboys fan, I am hoping for the best because I'm not going to lie, as I've talked about on this show, it's been very exciting to see Dart and Scat go back-to-back in that duo this year. It was a lot of excitement for the league. As a whole, it's fun to watch. It was cool. It's cool to see that youth movement. And now no neighbors, no Scat. It's just brutal for the Giants. All right, just absolutely heartbreaking and brutal for the Giants. It's just been a rough year. It's only going to get rougher without Scat. So, hopefully he's back. Nothing too long-term, that he has to deal with following this injury. And, we'll see what happens with the Giants, but just a horrible, horrible blow to them yet again. Drake May is still that guy. All right, Drake May, for all intents and purposes, is still that guy. All right, 32-13. New England takes care of Cleveland. Drake Hill goes 282, 3 touchdowns and a pick. However, this was beautiful, by the way. For the Browns organization, this was absolutely beautiful. You've got Myles Garrett, by the way, who had 5 sacks in this game, is absolutely raging because the Browns just are absolutely terrible, and he just played the greatest game of his life. But it was beautiful because, the Browns are so adamant that Dylan Gabriel could be the guy. And it was beautiful to see. Here's what a potential franchise quarterback looks like, and here's what it doesn't look like. We got that in this game. You've got Drake May, who's having his breakout season, has another great game here. Like I said, 282 and a hat trick. And then you've got Dylan Gabriel, who was a bum. As I've been saying for a year, he was a very good quarterback in college. He is not going to translate at all to the National Football League, and he's not. Sure, he's a rookie. Give him some grace. He sucks. 2 picks in this game. He sucks. All right? He sucks. He's not the franchise. Just give Shedeur. Just give it to Shedeur. Just give Shedeur a chance. All right? If he sucks, then he sucks. And you missed on all of them. But Dylan Gabriel, you are wasting everybody's time. I'm not going to lie to you. You're wasting people's time. And the Patriots, this is what a franchise quarterback looks like. Drake May, Dylan Gabriel, not one. All right, Tampa Bay beats New Orleans 22-3. That's literally the only thing notable that happened in that game. Indianapolis, all right, takes care of Tennessee 38-13. Again, Indy is, I don't know, maybe a contender at this point. I'm gonna be honest, they might be a contender. We just gotta call a spade at a certain point. All right, they keep winning games, and hey, like we said in college football, survive and advance. All right, then they're not just like scraping by; they're beating teams. They are beating teams. Now, it's the Titans. All right, so I ain't going to gas it too much, but another great week from the Colts. Jonathan Taylor, however, is my MVP. He is my National Football League most valuable player this so far in the season. All right, 153 yards, 3 touchdowns for JT in this game. He has been unbelievable. All right, he has been the best running back in the league this year. All right, so yeah, JT, MVP. Let's talk about it. All right, let's talk about it. That's what I'm saying. Let's talk about it. Daniel Jones continues to have the revolution of his career in Indianapolis. 272 and 3 touchdowns for him here. Michael Pittman Jr. MPJ goes 8 receptions, 95 yards and a touchdown. Has a great game. Alec Pearson yet another deep ball. And everything goes right for the Colts as they continue to just have this absolutely not foreseen at all. Completely just shock of the year season, and they might just be contenders. All right, JT is certainly in MVP talks, though. All right, Green Bay and Pittsburgh. Of course, this was headlined by Aaron Rodgers facing his old team for the very first time, fun fact. And Pittsburgh looked good to start, but then Green Bay just said, our time is now. All right, Aaron Rodgers, I'm not going to lie, he got a little bit of the Jackson Storm Lightning McQueen treatment in this one. All right, J Love goes 360 and 3 touchdowns in this game to lead the way for the Packers. However, let's be real, this was the Tucker Kraft game. It was National Tight End Day. It was the Kraft game. All right, 7 receptions, 143 and 2 touchdowns. The Steelers couldn't stop him. They saved their life. They could not stop Tucker Kraft. He was looking like prime Tony Gonzalez out there. I got no other way to put it. All right, it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Rashawn Gary continues to be a much better player in the NFL than he was in the college football life. 2 sacks for him. A-Rod didn't play bad, 219 and 2 touchdowns, but he ain't that same player. All right, we are in an evolved version of Rodgers. He's not as bad as it maybe looked when he was with the Jets, but it's not too much better. I'm not gonna say or lie. It wasn't too much better. I think he was just getting a lot more flack in New York than he is in Pittsburgh. So that's the situation there, but yeah, Green Bay gets it done. J Love said, I'm Jackson storming you. All right, he did. Packers get it done, and they keep their winning ways. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, though, we have reached the Roundup. All right, we have reached the Roundup. Let's talk about F1 first. All right, first, at least we're going to go F1. I was trying to decide, then we're Martinsville. Let's go F1. Let's keep tradition. Mexico Grand Prix. All right, the Mexican Grand Prix. And Lando has a week so good that he has taken back the championship lead. After at certain points, people were like, yo, is it over? Is Oscar already got this? Lando has taken, with 4 races to go, Lando has taken a 1-point lead here in the championship, and it looks like we got an all-timer going down to the wire here. But yeah, Lando, he's hungry. All right, he's hungry. I don't know if it feels like the energy has shifted at McLaren. It was like Lando has all the pressure, Oscar doesn't. Oscar's doing well, Lando's kind of sinking. Now Oscar has all the pressure, and it seems like he's faltering a little bit, and Lando is slowly without the spotlight and just kind of accepted. He's driving better, he's winning races, he's taking back the lead. So we will see, but they're seesawing back and forth. Lando, like I said, 1-point lead. Not that much, though. Not that much, just the 1. Charles gets 2nd here. Max gets 3rd, continues his charge. Oscar, it really almost got wicked for you, but you did fight back to get 5th. But 4th place, ladies and gentlemen, with a career high is Ollie Bierman. All right, one of the, if not, in my opinion, the best performance of young Ollie's career with what he did in that Haas this week. He was fast. He was unbelievably fast and unbelievably competitive with Ferrari and McLaren and Red Bull. So impressive stuff from Ollie, a great drive. I don't know if he won drive of the day, but he definitely deserved it. And yeah, very impressive. But Lando back on top. Martinsville. All right, it came down to it. It really did come down to it, of course, because we need all of the dramatics this week. Willie B. All right, you're back in it again. Get a chance to get another championship. He makes the championship forward with the win here at Martinsville. Blaney will have to settle for 2nd place. Chase will have to settle for 3rd. And neither one of them, former champions, make the playoff or the championship 4, should I say. But we do got Briscoe, Hamlin, Larson, and Byron. Again, I don't really agree with the kind of way it's set up for NASCAR. the championship being determined by one race. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. Like I said, it should be full season. I've said this before, so I won't go too into the weeds. But again, I don't agree with that. It just mean like, and especially since you have other cars on the track, so it's not like it's really between the four. It's like a normal race. Just where do they finish? And there's so many outside factors that could affect that and take somebody off of a championship. So I don't know. But yeah, those are the four we get. Could see a first-time champ. Could see William Byron or Kyle Larson get their second. We will see. Victor Wembanyama. Where do I start? Okay, the alien has ascended. Wemby has arrived on Earth. He has taken the entire Earth, put it on his back, and now he is going back up. Because I don't know where you're going, but I'm seeing a glimpse of the future currently. Wemby, for all intents and purposes, through the first 2 games of the season, respectfully SGA, has looked like the best player in the world. He has looked like the best player in the world. He looks unstoppable. He has gone to a different level this year. He had a bad shooting night yesterday and still had 30 plus, like 14 boards and 6 blocks. He's averaging through 3 games, 35 points, 13 boards, 6 blocks. I have no words. I have no words for what I'm witnessing. It looks like he is not coming to peacefully claim that he's taking the throne. Listen, y'all had a lot of discussion about who's the best player in the world for the past couple of years. Y'all said it was going to be me. It's me now. All right, it's me. That is what it feels like. Wemby looks like he has quite literally come from a different planet and is showing us this is what the evolved version of basketball looks like. I cannot glaze it enough. It is otherworldly, the sequences we are getting every single game from him. I can only pray that he stays healthy because we are witnessing history right now. Wemby may be coming for that best player in the world title sooner than later. All right, but we will see. NBA just started. All right, just started. College basketball season about to start this coming week. We've had exhibitions the past week, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, did this draft class look absolutely ridiculous, especially with the big three, of course, of AJ, DP, and Booz. They all dropped 30. Or would have dropped 30. DP did get taken out a little bit early because, he dropped 25 in the first half. And we were like, yeah, we've seen enough. But they all balled out in their first games, technically, of college basketball. Not the first official game, so to speak. But first games. AJ's played 2. First game, obviously, dropped a 30-piece. Second game against Carolina. Didn't drop as many, but still looked very, very elite. Boozer dropped a 33 and like 13 in the first game. And then against, who did we play yesterday? Tennessee, at Tennessee, he goes for 20 and 20 with 6 assists. And then, of course, Darren Peterson did what he did against Louisville. It was ridiculous. All right, the sharpshooting, the shot-making ability, the two-way, but it's just, this class looks so special. All right, that is as good of a top 3 as I have ever seen, and I cannot wait. All right, I cannot wait to see what AJ, D, Booz, and DP do this season. El Clásico was also this week in La Liga. All right, Mbappe continues to score, even though his streak got broken by not scoring in Champions League this past week. But he does score here against Barca. Jude also scores. And honestly, Real Madrid could have ran it up. But a couple offsides and some a little bit unlucky. Cost them a couple goals, but they do get the win here against Barca. Fernan Lopez trying to get them back. But yeah, Barca's just a little bit disjointed. They went with a lot of injuries, which means La Masia is about to money print another wonder kid. But yeah, Barca dealing with some injuries. Weren't as good, lacking some chemistry. Real Madrid needed this win, though. And they needed this win against Barca because it was not a fun time in this series last week for El Clásico, but much better this week, much better this match day. And yeah, Real Madrid takes command of La Liga. NHL, all right, to close us off here, the San Jose Sharks, the young Sharks, are looking special. All right, that Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini duo is producing just as much as they dreamed. All right, it is already shuffling up. We'll see how Misa gets put inside the equation, but young Sharks are looking like a lot of fun. The Flyers, Zegras looks like who Trevor Zegras was supposed to be. All right, he's been an excellent playmaker. That shootout goal was absolutely cold-blooded. He's also the best shootout goal scorer in history by percentage currently. And yeah, he's looking like a different player, looking like that elite superstar that people thought he could be, at least offensively. And the Flyers are looking a lot better, looking like they might have fleeced. All right, Danny B may have cooked there. We will see, though. All right, as the season continues to go on, But without further ado, for episode 273, I hope you guys enjoyed. But without further ado, Ocho signing off.